how quickly he was going to come. So I did my recruit training with SAS, but I had an opportunity to go to the Gray Scouts. They knew about my horse background and my farrier background, with an immediate promotion to corporal, which probably would have taken 2 to 3 years at least in SAS. And if all went well, a promotion to sergeant in 2 months. So I went with that. I spent a good chunk of my time with the Gray Scouts as a farrier and teaching shoeing and all that, because I was reasonably accomplished when I got there in it. I also spent a spell training remounts, new horses coming in. They had a pool of, I think, 80 horses they needed to put through, and I got, it was obviously a place where most of the horsey set went. And they started out with a commander who was he was a ex-BSAP, British South African Police, nowhere near up to running a regimental size or battalion size unit. Excuse me. The place had kind of gone to hell in a handcart, and I didn't see any hope. And so I went to the Selous Scouts, and actually they kind of recruited me because they had some horses and they needed somebody who knew something about horses. I went there for a year. The main problem was not knowing anything about horses, but knowing everything they thought they needed to know. They didn't know how to employ them properly. The first operation they tried is a mounted infantry operation. They put us in this rock pile. They wanted the horses barefoot so they could be possibly mistaken for local horses in Botswana, which was sandy. So in a few days, the horses were ready to go home. We had to go with them. I did a number of operations, did a number of column operations with them. They left when they did the Mapai operation in 1977, I guess. They left me with my mounted guys. We left the horses behind, and they dropped us off by the power line, where the power line from Cabora Bassa Dam goes to South Africa, and the road from Mapai to the border station. I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. To at least try to hold the road open and let them know what was going on. And I said, how many are at this post? And his name's escaping me right now. But anyway, well, we don't really know. Give me a ballpark. Well, 400 to 600. And I think, well, 10 of us are going to do a hell of a job there holding back 400 to 600. So anyway, the operation was a pretty good success. They did lose a C-47 Dakota. Some Frelimo snuck in with an RPG and blew it up while they were loading up swag. So that was the only down part of the whole operation. And came back up the road and picked me up. We had a couple of minor adventures, but nothing of any real, one firefight and nothing really serious. So anyway, I stayed in the Selous Scouts for a year, and because I really didn't know what to do with these horses and how to plan operations, I really got to be the senior shit shoveler. I trained people, and they gave them to somebody else, and they got a new commander, the Grays, which was my parent regiment. I got tired of being a senior shit shoveler and said, let me go back where I can do something worthwhile here. And I didn't leave on particularly good terms with the command element. And so there is a book, which is probably covers a good 90% of Selous Scouts operation. Read Lieutenant Colonel Ron Reed Daly's memoir. And the 10% that's left out is anything that doesn't reflect well on him. So and went back to the Gray Scouts and functioned there. Was much really more in a support capacity. I did take my troop of remount riders out for I think a couple of weeks. I got back from that, and I found out I had hepatitis, tick bite fever, and malaria simultaneously, and spent a few weeks in the hospital and a couple months on convalescent leave. And overall, They thought they would tell you they had a unique war there. Now, some of the tactics you had to use were unique, and they developed a few. But there is no unique war. I mean, Nathan Bedford Forrest said was the one who gets there first with the most men and most ordnance. So they were one thing they really they and the South Africans really had taped was mine proofing vehicles. There, with all the crap that the Americans do, I look at these things and say you should really go see what they were doing 50 years ago in Rhodesia and South Africa. And it's essentially you take a rectangular cross section or square cross section armor plate container, turn it, rotate it 45 degrees so that you have a diamond shaped. This disperses anything coming up from the bottom, the mines, and it also is very effective for incoming RPGs. And we still haven't gotten to that. They just slather more crap on these vehicles, on these MRAPs. And I still don't think they've really gotten to where they need to be, because if an RPG hits a flat surface, you got a problem. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. The shape charge is going to be effective. The only hope you got is detonating it just before it gets there, or getting it, having it deflected. I'm looking at your picture here and I can't see it all that well, but I think it probably shows just about what we're talking about. So that was one of the things they did brilliantly. The mounted infantry, Gray Scouts, was never cavalry. It was mounted infantry. You rode the horses to the battle, and they were most effective as an economy of force operation. Once they moved in, the terrorists who could outrun them given a few days on a short haul could not. A man on foot is going to run away from a man on a horse usually, eventually, if he's fit. But that didn't help for the first few hours. And they fought the war very well. I mean, we talk about combat jumps. The Fire Force, which is mainly the RLI, the Rhodesian Light Infantry, were jumping sometimes multiple times a day, multiple combat jumps a day from altitudes under 500 feet. They didn't even carry reserves, because at that altitude, you would not have had time to deploy the thing. Why bother carrying it? They jumped in tennis shoes and shorts, and they had like a hockey player's helmet that they wore for the actual jump, got rid of. In fact, I fought 2 wars and never was issued a helmet, the steel pot. We didn't have them in SOG, and I guess maybe the Hatchet Force did, but Recon didn't. And they didn't even bother with them in the Rhodesian Army. Nobody had one. So we didn't have body armor or anything. I completely agree with their policy of not using automatic fire. Putting your weapon on group therapy was a chargeable offense if you weren't ordered to do so. And they were more interested in well-aimed fire. You double tap 2 shots on semi-auto. And I watch these videos of, Vietnam, where these guys are holding these M16s up over the top of a berm or around a corner and just holding their finger down. All they did was waste ammunition. And let's see, what else? The Fire Force operations were very effective. They came in, the choppers actually hit the place they were looking for. And the Fire Force, the airborne people went in as stops. And
could you speak a little bit about the Fire Force call outs and the